Oh man, I know I said I would participate in this collab, but my stomach is in knots with the thought of talking about this. The only person I've ever told is my husband. This is so embarrassing. Hi friends, I'm Jen with the Budget Pounce, and today I'm participating in a collab with several other awesome channels, all of whom are listed in the description box below. When you're done watching this video, be sure to check out their videos and let them know you made it over to them from this one. And if you're here from one of the other channels, welcome. I would love for you to join the Budget Pounce family, so click on that subscribe button below. So today we are all going to be talking about a time that we were scammed. Allison over at Owen Your Future is hosting this collab in the wake of the popularity of the Fyre Festival fraud documentaries. They have been released on both Hulu and Netflix, and I've watched both of them and am amazed that someone can orchestrate such a massive con. Allison and her hubby, also named Matt, post weekly videos to help others own their financial future by getting out of debt, saving more, pursuing financial independence, and building the life of their dreams. They have a lot of great content, so be sure to check out their channel when you get done over here. Scams have been around for centuries. As a matter of fact, the earliest recorded instance of a scam dates back to 300 BC when a Greek merchant tried to commit insurance fraud by sinking his own cargo ship. In the 21st century, scams come in all shapes and forms. I read an article on mailmagazine.com recently where experts are saying that more than half of all cell phone calls will be from scammers in 2019. And tax email scams are still on the rise among many, many other types of scams. The author of the article talked to 3 experts who researched scams and the people who engineer them. It was fascinating. I'll go ahead and put a link to the article in the description box below if you'd like to read it. So I'm here to tell my very embarrassing story in hopes that someone else can learn from my mistake before they become a target, or at least before they become a victim. My scam involves check fraud through overpayments and collection. For me, as soon as I realized what happened, I immediately felt so stupid, embarrassed, naive, and incredibly gullible. I grew up in the age before the internet and social media in a very small town in the Midwest and led a very sheltered life by virtue of the nature of living in a small town. So I was very naive about so many things when I left to go to college, and I continued to learn how naive I was as I went through my 20s and moved into my 30s. So let me take you back to 2004. I was having a hard time adjusting to my new life in a new city with a new job and a new home. I was single and not dating much, and I discovered Yahoo Chat and that you could talk to random people. I totally was not in it for meeting guys, but that's exactly what ended up happening. I was also on Match.com at that time, and these lurkers were on there and would suggest chatting outside of the Match.com site, so I ended up in the Yahoo Chat with some of those Yahoos too. I can't remember if I met this particular person on Match.com or in Yahoo Chat, but I was emailing with him a lot. He basically catfished me, but I don't even actually think that was a term that had been coined yet in 2004. I had never experienced anything like this, and I was really flattered by him. He was so charming and so into me. We talked for several hours per day for several weeks online in chat and emails. You guys, I was so freaking clueless. I had no idea that people even did the types of illegal things that happened next. Here's the list of red flags that pretty much sum up the situation. First red flag, he was hot. Like, he looked like a model hot. Not the kind of guy that had ever been interested in me before. He had olive skin with dreamy dark hair and light eyes and was incredibly handsome. Oh, and of course, you know, his photos had the body to go with it. The second red flag, he was not from the US. The third red flag, he said he was from Nigeria. The fourth red flag, his picture didn't look like someone that was from Nigeria. The fifth red flag, 3 to 4 weeks in, he asked to send me gifts like a handbag, shoes, and jewelry. The sixth red flag, he sent me those gifts, plus, this is really the flag, plus other items that he asked me to ship to others for him. And he sent me more than the cost of shipping to send those extra items, usually anywhere from $10 to $50 more for each shipment. I think I did that like 3 times total. The seventh and final red flag, about a week after he started the fifth and sixth red flags, he asked me for money to help his son. So, I can't even believe I fell for this, but here goes. His son was in a hospital in another country after a terrible accident and needed surgery as soon as possible to save his life. And he had to pay for his son's surgery up front. He, of course, didn't have all the money and asked if I could wire him $2,700. He said that he would send a certified check for $3,200 from his business partner via overnight shipping and asked that I send the $2,700 via Western Union ASAP the next day when I received the payment from him. He told me not to send anything until I received the check from him. I deposited that $3,200 check and the bank gave me the money, and then I headed straight to the closest local grocery store to send the funds. I remember when I was there that the customer service person asked me if I was sure I wanted to send money to Nigeria, but the way he asked didn't alarm me for some reason. I'm sure my naivete had something to do with that. But anyhow, I proceeded and sent the money. And about 10 calendar days later, the $3,200 check deposit bounced. The bank called me to come in and meet with a personal banker to talk through it, and that is when I learned that this is a common scam. The banker apologized for them not catching it when I deposited the money and immediately withdrew it via cashier's check. The bottom line was that I had to pay back the $2,700 that I withdrew to send to him. The one thing that I did do was I didn't spend the other $500, so I got that going for me, I guess. But that $2,700, I didn't have it. So I basically took a cash withdrawal or a cash advance against my credit card to pay the bank. I was embarrassed, angry, humiliated, and just sick about the new charge on my credit card because at this time I had one open credit card, but I was not making new charges because I was trying to pay down my debt. So there was nothing I could do to get the funds back. I was so embarrassed that I didn't tell anyone. I think I was with Matt for like at least a couple of years. I know for sure we were engaged, maybe even married, before I told him about it. And I don't think I've ever told anyone else because it was just way too humiliating. The purpose of this collaboration is to alert people to the types of scams that are out there so they don't fall victim to them. So that's why I sucked it up to tell you about this as I sit here with a huge knot in my stomach. I did do a little bit of research and learned that check fraud is an international problem that continues to rage on. Credit unions and banks can help prevent check fraud by looking for these red flags often associated with fake checks and sharing the information with their members. First, missing addresses and phone numbers for out-of-state checks over $1,000. Shiny MICR numbers or known MICR numbers at all on the check. Sudden changes in member deposit behavior or frequency. Frequent questions from the member about when the check will clear or the money will be available. And then online deposits from IP addresses not associated with the member. Now this was 2004, so there wasn't as much online activity as there is today. I'm not sure if they had, those last couple of things. I don't know if they even had that information available to them back then. The moral of this very, very humbling story is if it's too good to be true, there's an extremely high likelihood that it is. And you should turn and run the other direction as fast as you can. So that's my scam story. As I'm reliving this, I am having physiological responses that I have no control over, including nausea from this knot in my gut and nervousness about the whole thing. And this thing is 15 years old. I hadn't thought about it in so long until this collaboration came up. And I was very surprised at how quickly all those feelings came rushing back. I hope that none of you ever becomes a victim of fraud. So be sure to check out the other videos in this collaboration to hear all about the other things to be aware of. Thanks so much for watching. That's all I've got for you today. Until next time.